Been a long time since I've done one of these, so I guess we'll just see how it does on the channel. What's up everybody, AnimeX here, and in this video I'll be doing another My Hero Academia video in somewhat quick succession, and I'll actually be doing another video on power scaling, which I haven't done in a while, which is a little interesting just due to the fact that I haven't done these in a while. But I thought, hey, MHA is coming back, Mirio is going to be like a focal point of that, like this season, so why not kind of scale him? So just like in other videos where I power scale people, just like in another scaling video, I'll be breaking this up into 3 segments, which are his attack potency, his speed, and his moves / hacks. So since this is a pretty interesting and difficult topic to cover, at least something that I've seen a lot of downplay on when talking about the speed of My Hero Academia characters, I'm going to jump right into it. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to be covering is Mirio's attack potency, which is going to be a kind of a shorter segment on this video, just due to the fact that it's pretty straightforward. So when talking about Mirio's AP, like I said, it's straightforward. It's not too complicated. There's not much math or many equations to figure out with anything. In fact, his best strength feat today is actually one-shotting all of Class 1A unironically. Now, that may seem weird to you, but at lowest, Mirio's AP would be building level since he's able to quite casually one-shot people like Mirio and Kirishima, both of which are people that have been able to tank explosion from Bakugo, which are consistently scaled to building level in terms of their explosion size and, attack potency. And while that is impressive for someone that doesn't even have a strength-related quirk or something that has to, basically enhance their power, it's not to the extent of his AP at least. Mirio one-shotting Mirio is actually closer to City Block level in terms of strength. Now, the reasoning for this is that the previous weaker Mirio was able to take multiple hits from Muscular, which could be around City Block level in terms of strength. Keep in mind, this is a weaker and less experienced Mirio than the one that we see now. Also, if you're wondering how I got to the conclusion that Muscular's attacks are City Block level kind of casually, it's basically based off of the earthquake that could be felt even by Magni, which was there during the summer camp training, and he was basically able to cause an attack that made the same style of attacks that would have he'd been using against Mirio, and the amount of power that this outputs calculates out to about 86.4 tons of TNT, which comes out to about City Block level, give or take. I'll make sure to leave the calcs that I use in my description down below so you guys can see the specifics if you want to. But it's essentially through my previous reasoning of Mirio one-shotting Mirio. That's his best kind of scaling feat that I no spoilers in here, but that's his best scaling feat. Even though he's able to take attacks at this level, this demonstrates why Mirio should be able to be at least City Block level in terms of AP. Keep in mind that throughout this video, I'll be going with a reasonable low ball, which I said is building level bare minimum, and then I'll be going with the higher end scaling, or just more of the scaling that I personally agree with. So keep that in mind. You can give or take the range. I'm not really saying anything definite on this. It's just me giving a good range of which the power that he can output, and then it's time to move on to speed. Now, the next stat of Mirio's that I'll be kind of covering is basically scaling Mirio's speed. Now, this is the one that's more difficult to do in My Hero Academia, but it is very possible to do if you use an assortment of calcs and just kind of regular reasoning. Now, while Mirio has speed feats of his own, like being able to react to gunfire from a handgun, which is kind of a spoiler, so I won't kind of give the details of that. It's not really a feat. That's a feat that shows the lower ends of his speed, right? The real speed scaling that we can get from Mirio comes from 2 things. One is the real-life equivalent to Mirio's permeation quirk, which in our case would be quantum tunneling. Now, using the quantum tunneling scaling for Mirio gets him to the higher ends of the speed spectrum, so I'll save that for talking about later in the speed scaling section. So, the second thing that gets Mirio really high in terms of speed department is comparing him to the members of Class 1A, some of which he blitzed. Now, the main person that this applies to is Mirio, since Mirio was able to quite casually blitz Mirio, who has some pretty good feats in terms of his scaling. So, in order to get an accurate representation of Mirio's speed, I have to quickly scale Mirio's speed in full calorie. Don't worry, I'll make a updated video on how powerful Mirio is, and don't just be on the lookout for that. Now, in order to get a good read on Mirio's speed, I'm going to scale him off of his fight from Seinen. Now, in order to get a scale of Mirio's speed, I need to use another calc from the fight. I'll make sure to link that calc in the description down below as well. But in this calc is basically based off the reciprocal burst from Ida-kun. Why'd I say kun? That was weird. Which was used to save Todoroki. Now, based off the distance that Ida had to travel, using a variable of Seinen's swinging speed, we can get a range of speeds. If we try to stick to the lower ends of speeds, we could assume that Seinen's sword swing would be move at peak humans, which would be up 12.5 meters per second, or about 27 miles per hour. And now I think that would be on the low end. Now, if we plug everything in, this gets Ida's speed to about Mach 9. Now, like I said, this is on the lower ends of the spectrum in terms of speed of Seinen's swing. I personally think the next variable is more likely, just due to the fact that he's actually a reasonable villain and able to fight quirk-enhanced heroes. And this is on the higher end of the calc. This is if we assume Seinen's swing is as fast as that of a baseball, the fastest baseball swing ever recorded, which is about 55 meters per second or 123 miles per hour. And with that speed, Ida comes out to about Mach 39. And since Stan is able to react to attacks from Ida and gets blitzed by Mirio, this means that at bare minimum, minimum, the difference between Midoriya and Lita at this point, you could say is just lowballing heavily is 39 as well. If you had the standard Blitz difference, which is about 2 times, you can get Midoriya into Mach 78, although whether or not you want to apply that to the scaling is up to you. Now, this isn't even the best speed feat in that fight, just because of the fact that Ida is shown using Reciprocal Extendo, which is a reciprocal burst move that is basically used afterwards, making it even faster, and Midoriya is shown being able to jump and reach Stain at the same time, even though Ida attacked first. But Ida, since this feat isn't as solid, I'll just leave 5% Midoriya at Mach 78. Now, this speed isn't even the cap of Midoriya's speed before the Mirio fight. Before the Mirio fight, we see that Bakugo and Midoriya go at it and they fight, and Midoriya unlocks 8% full cowling, which is important to the speed scaling. Now, in regards to Midoriya's increase, Bakugo says that Midoriya's is now levels above his previous speed, and at first I interpreted that his speed can increase anywhere from 2 to 5 times. That's the highball end, I guess. And if we use the logic that Midoriya could range anywhere from Mach 156 to Mach 390. Well, now, I will admit this is on the higher end of the speed scaling, but you can definitely scale him there consistently, and this is definitely an argument that can be made for that. Now, if you want to use a hyper literal difference in Bauer, you just take the difference between 5 and 8%, ignoring Bakugo's statement, just by dividing 8 by 5, and that will get you a 1.6 times difference in Bauer that you would get. And then you add that multiplier onto Midoriya's 5% speed, and he comes out to about Mach 125. This creates a range anywhere from Mach 125 to 390, even if you use a low ball. Use a good wide range of speeds that 8% Midoriya could scale to. So I'll continue to use that range so you guys can decide which speed you want to use for the Mirio in the end. Now, Mirio could basically react and blitz people that can react to those speeds, and if you have the standard blitz 2 times, Mirio could go anywhere from Mach 250 to Mach 780, which is pretty good speed for someone that's City Black level, if you ask me. Now, after using all this math calculations, you must think that this is the highest you can scale Mirio to speed, and that's where you would be incorrect to say the very least. Now, in My Hero Academia, there are a couple of things that hint at light speed My Hero Academia characters. Now, the first thing that argues is MHA characters that are entering the speed of light arena. It comes from Aoyama's naval laser. Now, before I continue on to the fact that the name laser, or the fact that its nomenclature is laser, doesn't inherently make it light speed. I just want to clarify that. That's not my reasoning at all. But this is because we clearly see in other works of fiction, lasers aren't necessarily light speed, and they can be dodged by people that don't scale to light speed. But there's evidence that this laser, in fact, is light. First example is that the fact that when Aoyama shoots this naval laser at 13, she absorbs it and saying she'll suck up light in response to Aoyama's laser. She basically says, I can suck up even light itself, right? This shows that the laser is able to be seen as light, or at least author intent dictates that it should be seen as light. Another example of it being light is the fact that Aoyama uses a series of mirrors in his suit, which are used to refract light in other parts of the body. This actually shows that it takes on the traits of light, and due to other previous scaling, this would scale to light speed. Right. With both of these examples, I personally come to the conclusion that the naval laser is light and has the properties of light, meaning that anyone can react to it should be light speed. And funnily enough, Mirio reacts to the light and his fight with Class and 1-8, which would put Mirio at light speed reaction times and combat speed, since we then other people are able to dodge and they get blitzed by Mirio. Now, there's another thing that implies light speed movement, and that comes from Mirio's quirk himself. Now, in order to argue this point, you have to use a real life phenomenon that would be equivalent to Mirio's quirk, and that equivalent would be quantum tunneling. Now, this is a very complicated process that I wouldn't say I'm qualified enough to give you an in-depth analysis on myself, so I'll link a video that can explain the details in the description. But one thing that is important to quantum tunneling is the speed that the molecules have to move at whenever this happens, and guess what? It's light speed. So I presented 2 scalings for light speed Mirio, and if you don't want to use that scaling for whatever reason, I find that it's fine, whatever. I understand that it's a hard pill to swallow that MHK characters are light speed, or at least relativistic, but I also gave a low ball of what Mirio's speed could be, so please don't yell at me in the comments down below. I gave you a nice scaling through using the use of Calcs and its own lore in the series itself. So it's time to quickly go over Mirio's hacks and his abilities. Now, the final stat of Mirio's that I'll kind of be just going over, it's like I'm just going to be basically explaining Mirio Tagada's abilities and hacks. And although you guys are most likely extremely aware of his abilities, especially if you read the manga, if you clicked on this video especially, I just want to quickly go over what his power is in essence, and also the drawbacks of such a power. No, so first of all, most of you guys know Mirio's quirk is permeation, and this essentially allows Mirio to phase through or slip through anything that he so wills it. Basically, Mirio can make certain parts of his body intangible if he so chooses, and he makes his entire body intangible, making it impossible for him to, or for his physical attacks to hit him, and vice versa. And while this power may seem broken or OP in his hands, Mirio is able to use it very well in his complete mastery of it, but when Mirio uses permeation, his whole body, and on his whole body, everything phases through him. Bullets, punches, even light itself just passes through his retinas. This means that Mirio isn't able to see anything or basically feel anything when he phases certain parts of his body that should react to feeling enlightened, that type of stuff. Another drawback of this power is that when it's used on full body, Mirio's only able to feel one thing, and that is the sensation of endlessly falling through whatever he happens to be falling through at the moment. Now, the way that Mirio flawlessly uses his quirk doesn't really portray many of the drawbacks of such a power, and that's just through the repeated use and practice of using his quirk, which I would just say is credit to Mirio's training and mastery of his own abilities. In fact, I would go so far as to say Mirio uses his quirk as good or better than someone like Obito, who has untalented ability without basically the drawbacks of this. And this is pretty insane to think about, since Mirio would be using a quirk at the same level of someone like Obito, even though he has way more drawbacks and things that he has to worry about when using this ability. Now, just like any good My Hero, or any good My Hero Academia character, Mirio has a couple of ultimate moves that are important to him. The important two being Blinder Touch Eyeball Crush, which is basically a move where Mirio pretends to poke his enemy's eye while his arm being intangible, and then he follows up with a powerful punch to the gut. The other arguably cooler move is Killing Move Phantom Menace. And with this move, Mirio basically rapidly switches between tangibility and intangibility and wombo combos his opponent extremely quickly and brutally. This move seems to happen in a very short amount of time, meaning that he's basically blitzing them. Overall, Mirio's quirk is something that is very hard to manage and it's used competently, but Mirio is not only does that, but he also pushes the quirk past its limit and goes plus ultra, pushing it to the extreme, which is why he's dubbed closest to being #1 hero, even counting the pros. And that, everybody, is the end of the Mirio scaling video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have disagreements and that type of stuff, link to my Discord is down below. We can kind of talk about it, whatever. If you have different scaling for them, you have any things that you want to present, any links that I forgot to link down below, make sure to let me know. Also, there will be no light goal for this one. I just want to kind of get back into scaling slowly but surely. So I'll just be kind of slowly releasing scaling videos, maybe some debates, that type of stuff, alright? So, catch you guys on the flip side. So without, actually, before I leave, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed the video. But that is about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, guys, is NMAX signing off.